elves are not really a thing anymore, as you can technically play a high elf with blue eyes with the Horde, despite them being an alliance race. Furthermore, high elves had been a part of the alliance much longer than they had been a part of the Horde. The void elves are blood elves recently exiled due to worries that are going to corrupt the Sunwell, but the Sunwell is literally going to get corrupted by the void regardless in about midnight, and they may just be invited back in to help fight this invasion like fire with fire. New Night Elf capital of bel'ameth is right off the shore of Quel'Thalas, and it has been confirmed to be a neutral sanctuary, and all of this really makes it seem like not only are the elves and variations going to be turned into a neutral race, but that new big Silvermoon is going to turn into a neutral hub as well, with all the revamp hints for WoW Midnight. So are elves becoming a neutral race? What will new Silvermoon look like, and are we in for a huge revamp not only to factions but character customization as well? Did you know you can play WoW directly on your phone? Well, with this video sponsor, Awesome, you can control your PC with your phone completely free, and it is available for Windows, iOS, and Android. It is super easy to use. Use my link to download it, get the phone and the PC app, and just connect it. The free version is powerful as you can control your desktop, transfer files, but the game version is where it is at. It has custom keyboards for various games such as Warcraft, and you can enjoy AFK gaming anytime, anywhere with actual game sound. Make sure to use my code DORON to get 7 days completely free to try it out, only for the first 200 people. They also got a smart plug to turn off your PC at any time, as well as hot sales with up to 40% off on pro and game versions. Check out Awesome. So at the moment we got 4 elven races available, and all of them share the exact same heritage. They used to be dark trolls in the past, impacted by the Well of Eternity, which is Azeroth, then night elves, and then they split into the variations we have today. So the Horde has the blood elves and the Nightborn, while the Alliance has the night elves and the void elves. Lore-wise, all of these races have a lot more affinity towards the Alliance historically than they do towards the Horde. Only the Nightborn might be different, but that is because of the fasting situation at the time and the massive faction war that was going on. They're really not connected to the Horde in any other way. However, times have changed, and I mean significantly changed, and I really don't think there is any going back anymore. The factions are at peace, they have been at peace for a while, and Blizzard confirmed that we shouldn't be expecting any types of big faction conflicts at any point further. So realistically, the Horde and the Alliance right now really seem like relics of the past, and Blizzard seems to be making this distinction less relevant each passing day with every new hint they release. Now, before you say this is just my opinion, just look at the recent history and facts. Let's look at what we have. First of all, the last 2 races we got added to the game were neutral, the Draktyr and the Earthen, and the way it is set up, I feel like every race in the future is going to be working in the exact same manner. It is going to be a neutral race that is going to be able to pick a faction. In the past, faction-specific races made a lot of sense because both the Horde and the Alliance were at war. They were trying to recruit the available races, offering them benefits to use them against the other faction. Even races that are unplayable join that way, like the Hosen and the Jinyu back in Pandaria. However, right now it doesn't seem like it will be happening anytime soon, especially as we got 3 next expansions laid out, and none of them have any hints of faction conflict happening within them. Furthermore, other changes started happening at the same time. First off, the Reclamation of Gilneas is happening in 10.2.5, which is strictly a human kingdom. Like, this is the founder of the original alliance, and spoiler alert, but all the data mine hints at the moment are pointing that this is a joint Horde alliance effort to free this kingdom. Second, what I think really sealed the deal and confirmed that this is the way to go forward with other things as well, is that Blizzard has literally turned the new Night Elf capital, the new Doronsmovies, bel'ameth, into a neutral hub, allowing the Horde to come and sort of live here. Now, previously I've made a video about this, covered it, how the Horde can do anything from the flight path to the innkeeper. People were saying this might just be the PTR, but in the new PTR build, bel'ameth is literally called a sanctuary. We got Horde quest text and NPCs referencing how the Horde is coming here as well, so I think it is safe to say at this point in time that it is 100% confirmed bel'ameth is a Horde city as much as it is an Alliance one. And I can't say I like this all that much, much, but if I told you previously that the new Night Elf capital would be a Horde city, like 7 years after the burning of Teldrassil, you would think I was crazy, so I don't think it is crazy at all to say that the elves are becoming neutral as well as Silvermoon, and let me explain to you why I think this is the case, because I think there is quite a bit of evidence. We got a few pretty strong hints going on at the moment. The biggest hints are the ones where Blizzard has actually confirmed in an interview what is happening. At the moment, some are very vague statements, but we can kind of decipher what is going on. So they told us, obviously you've heard about this, that a big focus around Midnight is going to be on uniting the elven tribes, and as I just previously stated, all elves share the exact same heritage, which is they used to be trolls and then night elves in the past. One thing to keep in mind is bel'ameth in the entire neutral situation that is currently going on. I'm sure most of you can agree with me here, but it isn't really the best idea that the night elven capital is on the Dragon Isles and that it is neutral, but I actually think all of this is just a huge setup for WoW Midnight and that it will make more sense later down the line, despite right now being just downright insulting to the night elves at this point in time. So the invasion was confirmed by Blizzard to happen through the Sunwell in Midnight, which is in Quel'Thanas in the northernmost part of the Eastern Kingdoms. Right next to Quel'Thanas are the Dragon Isles and bel'ameth, and I think this is exactly why they decided to put the city here so that it can be relevant in the next expansion and that it can actually be used. Now, I'm going to throw a few facts at you so you can kind of take it as you will, but we got a few key things going on around the same time, although it is kind of vague. One is that the Sunwell was literally created from the Well of Eternity, aka vials of the blood of Azeroth, and then it was reignited by a Naru, and as you may know, Naru tend to have this complete opposite like void and light cycle. Blizzard strongly hinted in an interview that this Naru is going to be a huge part of why the invasion is going to happen through the Sunwell, and that the Light Army will be a big part of this expansion. Second is the hint that I feel like people have forgotten a bit recently. So we got the hints of the first ever world tree that was planted upon old god corruption in order to cleanse it in the ancient history. It was called Eluna here. Right at the start of Dragonflight, as we had the time travel scenario, we got brand new old god hints that were added in Dragonflight. Deeper its roots will grow, welcoming our embrace. Well, Amirdrassil was planted right around where the epicenter of the new Void invasion is going to happen. Now, this quote could also be referring to Luna here, the first massive world tree, but it could be related to Amirdrassil as well. My point is that the Void invasion could spill over and that big things could also be happening in bel'ameth in Midnight. All of this could connect to the Night Elves, the original elves, and their variations, as they're essentially going to share the same struggle, which is the Void invasion. The second big thing that I think is going to be super big is that the Void Elves are going to be ones that are going to bridge the gap here between the factions. As you may have noticed, Illyria is going to be one of the key characters of the entire World Soul Saga, and she is a High Elf that was turned into a Void Elf. Super quick lore lesson here, but remember the Void Elf questline. Void Elf presence started creating crazy things with the Sunwell, and the Blood Elves were worried they're going to corrupt it, so they decided to just exile the Void Elves, and then the Void Elves had joined the Alliance. Keep in mind, the Void Elves used to be a part of the Horde like just a few years back, like they were just Blood Elves. Now, the Void invasion is actually happening through the Sunwell, and I think Lortimer and the Blood Elves are going to be inviting them back so they can help them cleanse it, which is going to be this like huge reconciliation storyline. Another thing you need to keep in mind, which I think is a big part as well, historically, Blood Elves, aka High Elves, had been a part of the Alliance a lot longer, and I mean a lot longer than it had been a part of the Horde. Thousands of years ago, with the Kingdom of Erator, the Elves waged war against the Trolls. The Elves taught the humans how to use magic, therefore essentially founding Dalaran indirectly. Even Illyria and Terrellian were a part of another variation of the Alliance. The Blood Elves decided to join the Horde, sort of an accident, like due to the super specific current political situation and Sylvanas. However, they had been Alliance affiliated for thousands of years. Furthermore, due to the Scourge invasion, High Elves split into High Elves and Blood Elves. These High Elves were just elves that lived in human kingdoms, as they were friendly at the time. Literally, the only difference between these two races was that the Blood Elves had been so desperate, so they had embraced spell magic with Keltas, and they had gotten green eyes, while the High Elves had the regular eyes. Now, if you might have noticed, there is this little detail, and that is that the Blood Elves don't really exist anymore. They aren't really a thing. I mean, sure, you can get green eyes with the customization, but you can get a lot other customizations as well, and technically, High Elves are playable right now with blue eyes, but only as a part of the Horde, despite technically being an alliance race. Blizzard even explained this recently in an interview how the Green Eye thing is a thing of the past, so it's not really going to happen anymore. So right now the Blood Elves and the Nightborn are the least Horde races of all the Horde races. There is absolutely nothing that is holding them to the faction. Factions are essentially united right now, and historically they have been a part of both and are more alliance affiliated than Horde affiliated. And the political situation is so different right now than it was back in TBC, so it really makes no sense to keep the same order. The Nightborn, on the other hand, couldn't care less about the factions. I mean, they just joined the Blood Elves because they were welcoming at the time and there was a really specific situation going on as well. The Nightborn are really more affiliated to the Night Elves than anyone else when you look at it historically. So let me explain to you how I think this is going to be happening in Midnight. First of all, the revamp of Courtalas was said to be huge, much different than just updated graphics, and essentially the entirety of Silvermoon is going to be reconstructed. Seeing that you can't even fly here and that Silvermoon, when you look at it from above, looks like an unfinished zone, they're essentially going to reconstruct the entire city from scratch, fixing the broken parts, making it larger, and also probably removing the Kelta statues as he's no longer really relevant. When the Void invasion happens north, I think all elves are really going to unite at this point here. The Nightborn are already here, the High Elves, the Alliance ones, are probably going to return, and the Void Elves are going to be coming back to help save it from the Void invasion, and they're going to be like the Demon Hunters and like Fel, just like a Void version, so they're gonna help fight fire with fire. Seeing that bel'ameth is up there as well with the other elves and is already neutral, it seems highly likely that Silvermoon is going to be a sanctuary as well. So what I see happening is that they're going to revamp the whole customization page, and that the elves are going to turn much like the Pandaren. However, you're going to be able to choose like various variations, sort of similar to customization. So you like pick elves and then you can choose. You can be a High Elf, you can be a Blood Elf, you can be a Nightborn, you can be a Void Elf, and then you can pick the faction. And it is going to be more like Mega Orcs and regular Orcs, or the Lightforged Draenei and regular Draenei, so one race with a little bit of a different customization. Although technically I do feel like the Blood Elves might not even really be a thing anymore, and they might just be High Elves, although they might just keep the name due to the, nostalgia and everything else. As Silvermoon has like two major parts, they could maintain some sort of faction relation, so they could split it into like bits, sort of similar to Dalaran with the Horde and the Alliance side, but overall I don't think any of the current elven races have all that much to do with factions, and they really should be able to pick sides depending on what they want to do. Furthermore, this might be a bit more of a crazier theory, but I do feel like the Naga returning as well could be huge in Midnight, and maybe they could be a playable race as well. We know for a fact that Ashana is coming back, I mean that is as good as confirmed, and they're yet another elven race forcefully converted by the old gods. And remember, in the past, Naga worked together with the Blood Elves through Keltas and Lady Vash, so I could also see the resurgence of the Naga here, like back in Warcraft 3 when they came here during the Scourge invasion, and maybe a fraction of them actually joining. Blizzard already confirmed they have other races, and keep in mind here, races, plural, other than the Earthen, ready for the World Soul Saga, so the Naga could be one of those as well. However, I think this is sort of the point of no going back, and I do predict a major change with the entire customization screen, and that it might not be the same as it is right now, with similar races being separate. Thank you for watching. Check out how Kazakar is so much more than you think by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on ancient Greek colonies by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.